That was Ronnie Krays' tie, the original. That was his tie, his favourite tie. Given to me, not sent to me, when I was in London, by his wife, Kate. I treasure that because, only out of respect. People say, I bet you that's not his tie. Will you read them 2 letters what I give you? Nice and loud and quick.
Yeah, so Charlie's got 2 letters from Kate Kray. And, this is as real as it gets, folks. People can say stories, but we've got it confirmed here from Kate Kray. Huge thank you to you, the viewers, for helping us get to over 1 million subscribers. If you've not subscribed yet, please hit the subscribe button. Helps us get great guests and keep doing this hard-hitting content. Ready, Charlie?
I don't know the fuck is that.
I'll start it and then just turn to you. Ready?
You should get that on, you know. Not the way we're talking like that and laughing. You should have that on.
Right, ready? So many people have been waiting for Charlie Seiga Part 4. These are stories that go back decades. There's nobody left to tell these tales. It's just magnificent what happens over the generations. Loads of people up and down the country waiting. Loads have been listening to Charlie's audiobooks as well. Check them out. Anyway, huge thank you for coming back, Charlie. Links are in the description for the audiobooks.
Right, I'm going back into the mid-60s. In the mid-60s, Liverpool, crime was escalating rapidly. There's all kinds going off. With people, our crew, it wasn't just our little firm, there was all other little Liverpool firms. The proper fellas were taking money off rich people. And our main targets were like security vans and banks. You know, you'd either waited outside a bank with good information I went by. You knew what was getting carried in or coming out. Or that when you're doing an armed robbery, we would call them they called them the pavement job now. You was right there, come out with whatever you're carrying. To frighten them a bit, the guards, you know, because some of them would put up a fight and grab all the money, snatch it, and out way fast. Because these sorts of moves, what we were pulling off, if you got caught, you're facing a long time in jail. So I had to be really careful, scrutinise everything, plan everything thoroughly. If it wasn't right, I said, we're not doing it. And funny enough, a lot of people, what was in the same game as me in Liverpool, all knew they were safe grafting with me. Do you know what I mean? And you had to take certain men, pick them yourself. Some for the armed robberies who had plenty of bottle. They didn't mind a bit of violence. Then if you're doing some other criminal activity, what didn't include violence, then you pick somebody else. So really, you had the choice of who you wanted to. And a lot of people wanted to graft with me them days. You know, they were good grafters, but some never had the bottle to do anything violence, which is good, but some did. So you have to have fellas what will do that for you. And the other thing what you've got to be careful of with this, you can do a job, pull it off, everything easy. You've got to make sure there's no aftermath. People do jobs and how they come unstuck, the aftermath. They think it's all done, finished with, counted the money out. But they might have left traces behind, something happens and all that. I was meticulous with that. I'd make sure the aftermath was the main thing. Because I was always done for aftermaths, but they could never prove nothing on me. I've always pleaded not guilty. There's ways around that. So this is where it was. I mean, going back into the 60s, a good friend of mine, John McGregor, he had a good crew with him. They done a snatch outside a bank, Water Street, years ago, like. Don't forget, we're talking about nearly 70 years ago here, and I'm still here. And what happened was they done it right. But what you used to do in them days, because we were local scousers, people might see us and recognise us. So we had to get somebody from different cities. And there was a connection with Liverpool with us. A few Cockneys would come down, they'd do the black. If they had one up there, we'd go and do one up there. Like I used to go on the train, suits on, briefcase, with all the jewellery I've had. Just sell me wares up there, you know what I mean? This is the way it was. You know, anybody in Manchester, they'd come to, we'd go to them. And this is the way it happened. But I remember, John, this is what made me think about it. They'd done a perfect job in Liverpool. In the early 60s, all office workers, businessmen wore bowler hats and pinstripe suits. Everybody was like that, not these scruffs walking down now with trainers on. That's the way it was. Do you know what I mean? And briefcases and all that like, and everybody goes in and out of banks, their business and all that. And again, John had good information, good grafter. Him and his friends, Dickie and all the rest of them, you know, Charlie London. They're all good grafters. And the job went on. They were dressed like businessmen, bowler hats on, had their weapons underneath their coats and all that in the briefcase. And as it's coming out, the job went off brilliant. No, they even done, which is good, put a road sign up, this road closed, just before they do it, not straight away, because you might get a visitor, that's not closed, and do it like that. And it went off perfectly. And it was all over the papers. You can get this on the archives of your shit. There's people that don't believe what you're saying sometimes. That didn't happen. But you can get it on the archives, this move. And it was a good move what they done. And a few days later, a neighbour of John McGregor's, he had a lovely house in there, phoned the police up. She actually seen them in the garden with bowler hats on, umbrellas. Do you know what I mean? And it come out, the bowler hats, the gentlemen, they were all wearing bowler hats, so she got right onto the busies. Anyway, he gets arrested, gets taken in. This is the aftermath again I'm talking about, a serious thing. And he had nothing on him but the bowler hat things, you know. He couldn't get out of that. But he knew he wasn't going to get charged with the actual robbery, right? So he, like the rest, he kept his mouth shut. Everybody else was safe. You know what, done it with him. They were Cockneys, you know, 3 Cockneys come down, not a couple. They done it with him and all that. So he's remanded in custody. And this could never happen, this, in a million years. I know I keep repeating that. But he's going in and out of court. And he goes to court this day, comes back. I'm not going to say a name here. He's pacing up and down a cell in the night time. And he decides, he's being told by his lawyer, as QC, there's a way out of this, John. And he was telling me the story. He said, what do you mean, like? He said, the judge, I've got him the other way. And this is true, this is a true story. Because the judge they used to come when they were coming into Liverpool, get these houses in what they call Judges' Drive, and they're down Kensington way, you know. So John said to me, I didn't believe it at first. I said, well, I wouldn't, because the busies were after him. These were top fellas, you know. So the next minute, he said, I'm pacing up and down my cell. He had a bit of a gambling business and all that. And I said, I may as well say this. I said to him, well, why don't you take it? What have you got to lose? They're not thinking all that. So he said, do you think so? I said, I'm telling you now. I was in the cell with him, not on another charge. He said, Charlie, do you think so? I said, yeah. You've got, honest to God. He's bent the judge. And the judge's name was Neville Lasky. Get that in the archives. Now, the police didn't know this. They were all rubbing their hands, waiting for all this to happen to him. So just as he's going to court, he said, do you think I said, go for it, John. It's a good chance. Otherwise, you're going down for a long time. So he goes in. He told me what happened when he came back. He said, I couldn't believe it. He said, I goes in there. And my brief is giving it all, doing his best. Now, Your Honour, he said, now, sir, he said, this man had nothing to do with the robbery. He is going to admit the aftermath of it, He had nothing to do with it. He didn't know what these gentlemen were going to do and all this like. And the police were looking like a bit funny. And the judge turned around and stopped them abruptly in his speech. And the judge said, oh, wait a moment. This man's not going to prison. This man, I'm going to hurt it where it hurts him most. I know he's been a little small cog in the wheel, he said. I'm going to hurt him most here. I'm going to fine you £1,000 to be paid within 12 days. Otherwise, you will go to prison for 18 months. And John said, I couldn't believe it. He said, but the best thing about it, all the police in the court knew what the judge had done. They couldn't prove it. Pulling their hats off in court, fucking swearing and walking out, banging things down. And he walked away. It just shows you though, doesn't it? The aftermath I'm getting into. I always made sure, every time we'd done something, the aftermath was there, And that's what it was like with these armed robberies and big crimes, what we were committing and all that. And so that was the 60s. So what got legalised then was gambling. Gambling became legal in England. Now, when I say legal, before it was legal, people had little betting. They didn't have betting houses, and you take like to the bookies. They call them the bookies. Take a little note with so much on that going on that horse. If you played a game of cards on a field, the police would arrest you. Didn't you know that?
I didn't know.
It's honest to God, this is true. You played pigeon tops outside the pub. When the pub's closed, you used to have a coin, heads and tails, gang of men. And I used to be, as a kid, and a few of my mates, we were only kids at the time, seeing all these men. And we'd be lookouts for them. And if the busies were coming, down, we'd stop and just put the coins in the pocket and just talk about football or something. But there was one time when he was in the street called Wimborne Road. If anybody's still alive, I don't think they are, to remember this. And they were playing this toss in there, And I was watching it and all that. It was exciting, as a little kid, because they always weighed you up when you paid out for you, and all that, for looking after them. This big van, like a furniture van, come into the road and pulled up. And they're all doing the toss and all that. The door opened and about 12 fucking busies come running out and nabbed them all. That's the way it was. Think of it. Gamble wasn't legal then. But anyway, because it got it got legalised. And not just gambling, there was certain other things, like the death penalty, no more hangings, that got abolished. So that it was rapidly changing the world towards, mind you, it was the golden era for us because we had beautiful work we could pull off and all that. And so as this is going on, got legalised. In America, they had all gambling casinos in America. I've been to the States a few times, some of my family are over there. In America, I've got all gambling casinos everywhere, Las Vegas and everywhere. And it's been legal for years with the Yanks, And so, in England, some of the people what were into gambling started thinking, oh, gambling casinos, And the two people what were going to get involved in it properly, really properly, with the Krays. I'm going to talk about the Krays now. Ronnie and Reggie Kray. And what happened? They got accused when he come down to Liverpool, sniffing around. There's a load of rubbish this, what people have said about them and all that. there was a film star called George Raft, who was up with the mafia in America, and he came over to England, to London, to see, because what the mafia do is say, who's the ones what can rule anything around there? You know, who's the ones what you can go to? They know the score and everything. So the Krays were the first ones they went to. George Raft. And I've had George Raft's gold bracelet from George to Ronnie Kray. His wife showed me that. You know what I mean? The bracelet. So he come over and everything's going all right. So the Krays had the idea of going to every city in England. Imagine this, the money you'd make. Going to every city in England to see where a casino could be put up. You know what I mean? Sniff around about it and all that. And he thought, we'll put one in Liverpool, one in Manchester, blah, blah, blah. Now, they'd been over a couple of times, you know, before somebody said he got chased out, which is a load of fucking lies. So what happened? They'd come down a couple of times and a bit of a skirmish carried on in Steel Street, where we all used to go, the Blue Angel, run by Alan Williams, beautiful club. The Stones and everybody went there years ago, the Beatles and everybody. And obviously, and a fight kicked off in the street somewhere. Always happens in Liverpool, you know. The Krays were never involved in it. They never got the thing in it. And because of that fight, they were blaming the Krays for coming down on the hard case to take money off people, like the tax man does with the tax and car, you know, the tax people on them. They were nothing like that petty. They were going into a big thing here. I mean, look at it now, the casinos, they're making a fortune. And that's all they were interested in. So when Ronnie come over, he was met at Lime Street Police Station, Lime Street train station. And what the villains used to do then, they wouldn't drive into any town to meet you, or you wouldn't drive. You'd get what you call the rattler, the train, and it'd take you into every city in the middle of it. Every train stops there. So you could all meet the train station, do your business, and even get back on the train when it's done. Saves all that, people following you and all that, man. So that's the way it was. So they come down to Liverpool Lime Street Station, getting up there. They had the entourage with them. And my mates and all that, we all used to dress smart. The Krays were always dressed smart. Real, honest, unbelievable. We all did. And so my mates, I'm not going to say myself. There's people who still got grandchildren and all that, and I don't want to tarnish their families with anything. So they came down to the station and they were met by friends of mine. So, you know what I mean? And as they come down off the station, walking around the city, a few coppers were looking at them, people were looking at them, and they were made up with the place, you know, about 5 or 6 of them, Ronnie and Reggie and their entourage with them. So walking around, so they were always boxers, you see, they loved the boxing. I mean, I loved the boxing. I don't like football, but I like boxing and all that, and they were right into that. So as a treat, we took them to the Liverpool Stadium, the boxing stadium, and see the fights and all that. So this was a funny moment, what happened. This is what they were like. They weren't like, oh, where they are, watch out, they're going to kill us. It was nothing like that at all. They were gentlemen. Greeted you with handshakes and everything. Anyway, we're in the stadium, the interval comes on, you know, with the usherettes, the girls come round with sweets and cakes and little pies and sandwiches. And this usherette comes to our crowd, and my mate was sitting there with Ronnie Krays sitting at the side of him and Reggie Kray, and they were there. And I'm not going to say me again. My mate was there, my other mate was there, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to mention the names. But this lad, okay, I can say this. They come off a big boxing family in Liverpool. And he was only young, he was only about 20, 19. I was in my early 20s, we were all young. So this usherette, am I doing all right here?
Yeah, fantastic.
Can
Keep
you
going.
understand my accent?
Absolutely.
So as she come around with the tray of goodies, only Krays sitting there, he could be like funny, you know. And my mate picked up this little pork pie to have a bite of it. And as he picked it up like that, Ronnie Krays turned down and said to him, "Fuck's sake, Tony, don't eat that for fuck's sake." He said, "We minced Ginger Marks up a few weeks ago and he was fed to the pigs." And he had like a little naughty grin on his face when he said it. Only thing, because there was a fellow called Ginger Marks what got wiped out. Nobody knows where he went, his body. I mean, the people won't know it, you know. That's the way it worked. Get shot, you're all right. He was a wrong one, you know what I mean? He had to go. And they reckon he got minced up by the police, by pigs, or he was put in an overhead motorway in concrete and all that. Ooh. They come up with all these. This is the press, you know, the media, who exaggerate things. And so, like, the next minute, that's going on. So that all finishes and all that. The night, the evening, to have a good evening that night, we're trying to impress them with our way, because we were all that smartly dressed. You know what I mean? And be good manners, and they were. And we went to a club called the Shakespeare. We called it the Shaky. And funny thing, this, in Liverpool, every name ends with an A. Charlie, Billy, Jimmy, Friday, Joey. It's all these. So it was called the Shakespeare, and we called it the Shaky. So they've got their table in there. We've got ours with them. And all the cocktails are going to one another. The champagne, the Moët is going over. And this could only happen in Liverpool. You wouldn't believe it. The compere on the stage is introducing a lady, well, a girl. It was her turn to sing. She's going to sing. Now, Liverpool women, they dress smart then. Really good-looking birds. But some of them, when they opened their mouths, it was all down there. And when they started talking, they opened their mouths. So this bird is just going to sing. And this one gets up out of the audience and says, "Hey, you, it's my turn to sing, not hers. I was before her." And so an argument was going on with these two women. So the next minute, this one by the stage, next minute, they start having a little bit of a tussle going on. And I'm sitting there going, fucking hell. Not me, somebody was sitting there going, fuck, this would have to happen. And I'm looked at them, the Krays were looked at, and they didn't bat an eyelid, just stayed there, didn't say nothing. So the fight kicks off and it escalates. Everybody jumps in. Fucking hell. And some fella, I won't mention his name, but he's well known, he's dead now anyway. He gets this fella in an headlock in front of Ronnie Kray on the floor, and Ronnie's looking at them and all that. And he tries to bite his fucking ear, and he's like that. And when that was happening, I went, fucking hell, making a cunt of ourselves here, you know what I mean? Fancy this happening to us. We're trying to have a showdown with a gentleman, you know what I mean? Do you know what the Krays done? They were sitting there and he just went, put the drinks down and quietly walked out as all this melee going on with the fight. They didn't get involved with it. They walked out to the hotel. And I'm going, we're going, what the fuck, you know what I mean? Because we were getting involved with them. These casinos, they explained it all to us. With George Raft come over, you know. The film star, I met him, you know, George Raft. So the next minute, I'm going, oh, fucking hell, that would have to happen. So we'll leave, they're getting the train back next morning. You know what Ronnie Kray said? This is what Ronnie Kray said. Fucking hell, you couldn't open anywhere in Liverpool. You all want to kill one another. And they're supposed to be the murderers. You all just want to fucking kill one another. Not opening anything here. Well, that proves something here now, I'm going to tell you. They never got chased out of Liverpool. And anybody looking at this, what's saying that they did, I'm telling the truth about it. There's all different rumours, such as one rumour, a fellow called Roy Adams, who owned a few of the clubs, the Cabin and all that. A fight kicked off in Steel Street by the Blue Angel. He turned around and said, this policeman come over to him and said, "Them crazy," he said, yeah, and he pointed to them. He said, and he pulled the gun out, the policeman, right, in front of people, and had Reggie Kray or Ronnie Kray in the telephone box and put the gun to his head. This is what a Liverpool policeman supposed to have said. "I'll blow your fucking head off if you don't get out of town fast." And everybody was saying, "Yeah, but you're not going to start asking us for money," and all. They weren't like that. They were gentlemen. They could, do you know what? They could promote anything, these two. They were gifted. They would have made more money being legit than what they done. You know what I mean? Two good people they were. And that's the true story. They never got chased out of Liverpool. And you get all these people. What happens, you say? Me and you could have a fight in the end of the street. You might have a bloody nose hole, mate. By the time it gets up there, I've killed you or you've stabbed. They exaggerate especially the press. Fake news, innit, all the time. And that's what actually happened. So I was involved with his wife and different people and all that. Incidentally, what happened after that? They come unstuck. Badly. Like I'm talking about the aftermath. And what, you know, somebody got shot. And it was Ronnie who done it. He did do it, there's no two ways about it. This fellow what he killed in the club, obviously he must have lost his head at the time. This fellow was a bully, a rat, and he was always bad-mouthing, "I'm going to batter them Krays." Different ones were saying that, they all went down, you know, the ones who were spreading rumours and all that. And when he walked into he made a mistake, the worst thing he could have done. He went in and his temper got the best of him. The fella called him a fat this and all that, you know, and all that. Here's the Krays, they're nothing to us and all that. Anyway, he couldn't handle it anymore, just shot him in the head. Down he went. Now, Ronnie and Reggie, because they had London, everybody liked them, you know, all the stars were with them and everything. They weren't bullied, they were just, I don't know, they had this magic, charismatic magic about them, you know what I mean? And they all wanted to be with them and all that. Film stars I'm talking about, celebrities. And Ronnie, he realised he'd done the wrong thing, but he thought, nobody's going to do this on me. There was only one barmaid in there, but went evidence against him. And at first he didn't. Nobody did. So, mouth shut, and you know what I mean? Now, he was banking on, imagine this, you're sitting with people, drinking with them, doing things with them, and they turn out real fucking snides. That was his fame. You know what they said they had a fame? Every one of them went against them Krays and give evidence in the Crown Court to save their own necks. That's what they done on them lads, two lads. And one of them saying, there's a fella was in London. I've never heard of this fella, called Scouse Norman. Have you ever heard of that?
Nope.
A Scouse Norman. He says that he went to the Krays' house with his mates, with his, you know, buddies and all that, to have a straightener with them. Knocked on the door, and the Krays said, come in, we'll make you a cup of tea. And it got settled, he bowed down, the Krays bowed down to him. Scouse Norman, I've never fucking heard of him. And he's living in London. Anybody who leaves Liverpool at that time, they're either on the run or they can't make it in Liverpool. Know what I mean? And this fella's spreading that rumour, and they're on podcasts. These fellas were on podcasts, like yourself. They're getting all this fucking rubbish talking to them, and they're falling for it. And they had their little bits on. You know what I mean? There's a load of bollocks. Anyway, so what happened with Ronnie and Reggie? Do you know what? They goes to court, standing there, didn't admit to nothing. I've never admitted to nothing in my life. Standing there. And each one of them went the wrong way on them. Bar one fella. This one man stayed with them all the way. And he got 10 years. Know what I mean? And he kept his mouth shut. He got 10 years, and then when he come out of jail, They'd got him again on another murder charge, but he was found not guilty. But Ronnie and Reggie got 30 years. That's you've got to do 30 years. No, just knocking off and all. 30 years. Think of it. 2 young men getting there. They'd never ever hurt a child, hurt a woman, an old man, or anything. Never caused any harm to anybody. The only people they damaged, or shot if they did, or killed if they did, were horrible people. All snides, who were bullies, women beaters and everything. Okay, they were wiped out, rightly so. But them 2 men, the 2 brothers, they were close. And the mother was lovely. Her mother was a lovely one, Violet Cray. And Krays, his wife, Kay, his wife, they were all lovely people. They looked after the mother. Do you know, they never went into a big flash hotel. Never drove around in big flash cars. But they had the suits on, and they looked the part. They didn't need that. And he operated with the mother's house and made sure she was okay and the families were okay. Treated her with respect. The mother was a wonderful woman. Come in and, what you want and all that. And he lived with the mother. You know, I lived with my mother for years because it's great, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Then you've got to start buying houses and all that like when I'm gone. But that's what they were like. They were good people, in my eyes. People might look at this and go, no, they weren't. I knew them. I knew Kate. I knew the lot. You know what I mean? They ended up in jail 30 years. Oh, that was so sad, you know. Ronnie, his wife, was going up to see him and all that. Reggie and all that. They've split up. Two twins, you know. That's another bad thing. Doing life. Do you know what? 30 years. You can get a paedophile what will rape a little girl and be out in 5 years. Somebody will beat an old man up or something. They're out in no time. Just because they wiped somebody out. And he said, they're the bastards. Not. Them people what went down, the fellas what they supposed to have killed, they were all no good anyway. They're all rats. And it proved what they were like. Because when they were standing in court as mates, the firm, they called it, the firm gave evidence against them to save their necks so that they wouldn't go to jail for a long time. And that's a true story, that. The saddest part about it, what I didn't like, when Ronnie Kray died, years later, I think it was, I think he'd done about 20 in jail or something like that, 20. He died. They had a big, massive funeral for him in London. I don't know whether you've seen it, haven't you, on the telly? And there was a gang of bouncers there, a fellow running a gang. He's dead now. I was going to mention his name. He had all these people on the club doors. They were, do you know the bouncers then, when it was getting up into the 80s? These were taking drugs off people and selling them. These are supposed to be gangsters. How can they be gangsters? They've never done a job in their lives, only battered people up. And this certain crowd of people in London to say, we'll protect. The funeral didn't need protecting. The coffin didn't need protecting. No need for it. But they all wanted to be involved there. We'll watch the body and we'll, you know, for the couple of nights he's in thingy. Do you know what they fucking done? Well, they didn't do it. Good job they never. Do you know when that man was lying in the coffin, Ronnie Kray, dead, obviously, they were all into drugs, these bouncers. They were going to put a line of coke on his forehead, and one of them was going to snort her out, and that was going to go for they'd get thousands off the papers for the story. They fucking bastards were doing that, going to do that. Fancy doing that. Where's the respect? Disgusting, isn't it? Can I show something on this?
Yes.
See this lovely tie here? That was Ronnie Kray's tie, the original. That was his tie.
Yeah.
Right? his favourite tie. That was sent to me, given to me, not sent to me, when I was in London, by his wife, Kate, and his family. His mother was alive then. So his tie has been in my possession. And I treasure that because only out of respect. And people say, I bet you that's not his tie. Will you read them 2 letters what I give you? Nice and loud and quick.
Yeah, so Charlie's got 2 letters from Kate Cray. And, this is as real as it gets, folks. People can say stories, but we've got it confirmed here from Kate Cray. Dear Charlie, find enclosed a tie that I want you to have. This is not just any tie. It was one of my late husband Ronnie Krays' ties. In fact, it was one of his favourites. He often wore it on one of our many visits in Broadmoor Hospital. I want you to have it as a sign of respect, not only from me, but your many friends in London. Thank you again for making my stay in Liverpool a memorable one. God bless, your friend, Kate Cray.
Oh, the other one.
So you got a second letter from Kate. Dear Charlie, I had to write to you and thank you for looking after us on our trip to Liverpool. And a big thank you for taking part in my forthcoming TV series. When the head of Channel 5 watched your show, he decided then and there that your show would be shown first. He thought it was riveting viewing and admired your honesty. The show has only scratched the surface of your life, and after reading your brilliant book, I am convinced that your story would make a compelling film. Obviously, before I met you, I had heard your name many times and heard lots of stories of Charlie Seiga, some good, some not so good, but everyone agreed on the same thing, that you are a fair man. I will only speak as I find, and will end this letter as I finish your chapter in my book. Charlie is a man who has done a lot of things in his life, always for a good reason, in his eyes. The way I see it, he is no angel. Then again, he is no devil either. We'll leave it at that. One thing for sure is that he is a gentleman. Recently, I had to go to Liverpool and Charlie and his friends met me. There was a limo waiting at the station, and I have to say that I was treated like a princess. Maybe it's called Liverpool hospitality. I'm not sure. Devil, ? Killer, ? But gentleman, definitely. Thanks again, Charlie. God bless. Kate Cray. That's the real deal there, folks. Confirmed. All these BS stories floating around about the Krays. Charlie met him. He met Raft, the famous actor out of America. And he's had an ongoing relationship, friendship with Kate Cray. Was there something about the station when you saw them off?
Well, as I say, the way I'm repeating myself here, the way the story goes by these people what didn't know anything. They were supposed to have been chased out of Liverpool. A gun put to their head by a policeman. Do you imagine that? I'm not busy doing that. This is what they make up. When they were leaving, boarding that train, Ronnie turned around and said, Charlie, wasting our time here. Couldn't open a place here. They were coming to open a casino because it had just been legalised. And they were added in different cities. They were going to Birmingham, Manchester, all over the place. And the American mafia with George Raft, who was the front man, was doing that deal. I know that for a fact. Do you know what I mean? Because I've been to America loads of times. You know what I mean? Mulberry Street, where Gotti was and all that, we'd all down there. So what we were doing is telling the truth. Not coming on saying I stabbed this fella and I was the hard case and oh, I got him and I made him. Oh, you know what I mean? So that was my time with the Krays, but I didn't mention about the funeral, didn't I?
You did the funeral. Yeah. What about meeting George Raft? You just touched on that briefly.
Well, he's dead now, George Raft. It was just like a gold. I mean, she's still alive, Kate, she can prove that. I was going to have it. She was going to give it to me. George Raft, from Ronnie to George. Solid gold. But I didn't want to take it. It's, you know what I mean? She's the best at keeping it. You know, so that's my story about the Krays. All I can say about the Krays, in my eyes, they were two gentlemen, two brilliant lads, clever. As I said, they would have been better off being in a business legit. You know what I mean? Because really, you know, they never went around and done all these robberies, what we're doing. They just put themselves, you know, they were boxers. They opened a little place, started off with that and all that. And they were good to the mother and the family. You know what I mean? That you couldn't get better than that, could you? Anyway, Ronnie and Reggie, God bless you, mate.
What about these trips to America, Charlie?
And another thing I'd want to say as well. That lady, Kate Kray, she is a lady. She's an honest woman, clean living woman, a lovely woman. And you know, Kate, if you're looking at this, God bless you, love. Well, after the story about the Krays, which is perfectly true and everything, life on crime was fast and furious, still going on. This is when we were doing really big moves. Some of them were great, but some of them you can come unstuck. And if you come unstuck on any of these things, you're not going to see daylight. So, for instance, like I remember one of the first banks we done, proper armed robbery bank. Again, I'm not going to say where it was, you know, because I'm committing myself. I'm telling the truth about this now. But my brother's with me on this bank, and two of my friends. But my brother asked me, he had a friend what had just come out of jail, and his skins, and he had no money. And could I let him jump in with us? And I was very reluctant for anything like that, because I like to analyse people and make sure they're okay, you know. So I relented and let him. I said, all right, only the once. He can be like a lookout, or I'll fit somewhere where he can be waiting in the car or something. So this bank, what we were doing, the front doors had two brass handles on it. You know, most banks are like that. They make them like that so because they look like, oh, you can't go in, you can't do that. And what it was, good information again, we knew that that money was on the counter ready to go. And one of my friends on it, I can mention his name now, Mickey Mack from Iton. His family is still alive. He was a great kid, he was. He saved a lot of things what happened in this bank when we were doing it. So me, Mickey, and my brother went in, and this fellow's called Wee Wee Mills. He ended up a police informer years later. And his job was to stand inside the bank, and the two brass handles, we had like a metal bar to put in so nobody could get in and out quick. Because these jobs, it's got to be perfect and it's got to be fast and furious. There's no, everything's got to be bang on, especially for me. So anyway, we goes in, we sorted ourselves out, we goes into this place, looking the part. And you'll laugh at this, but one of us had a white walking stick, by the way. He was a bit blind to take the thingy because we split up when we went in. We knew exactly what to do. Mickey was going to get over, get the dough. I walked in with a shooter. It was a sawn-off shotgun under my coat. The reason why we'd have a sawn-off shotgun them days, you know, not to look fearsome or anything like that. If a crowd of men ran at you, you could take them all down in the legs with that. That was the reason a shotgun was for, nothing else. For the gangsters and robbers like. So I've got this thing on my coat and I pulled it out, get back, done all the proper gear. And as I say, some go great, and some are terrifying. It's murder, it's a horrible thing. So everything was ready to go. Mickey was ready to jump over. I've got me back to the store inside the thingy. The staff are there. I said, I'll be here, nothing will happen to you, but not after your money, do it, but the way we do. The next minute, the door opens behind me back, inside the place. And we didn't realise there was another fella in there. He was the manager or something. And he sees the way I am, and he grabs me from behind, grabs me around the neck. I've got the fucking gun. Funny enough, it wasn't loaded like, it was just a frightener. So he grabs me around the neck, and then everything happened terrible. They got brave and pressed the alarm button. Everything is going on, and our kid come over and he said, move on, because he had a car. He said, well, I said, knock him out, get him out of the way. I had to get the fella. He went down. What happened? Millsy, who was on the door, fucked off. He just went, anybody come running in. So when we get outside now, it's murder. There's people come, all screaming and all that. Like. We've got to go through this crowd. This was a place little out the way of Liverpool, it wasn't far away. And we're passing past, the way you're rushing and all that. And we had the car parked. There was like a little bit of a brew like that. We had it parked on the other side. That was it. You don't park the car outside the back and daylight and all that. We put it out there. So when we come out, Millsy had gone. Gets in the car. Fucking, your heart put going. Busies are going to be at you any minute. We're ready to abandon, because we're going to abandon the car and go our own different ways on buses. So what happened? Gets over this little bit of brew. I'm sorry, I've got a bad cough today. Over this brew. And we get in the motor. We didn't know where the other fellow went, hiding in bushes or something, but we just started driving down. And he comes out of this hedgeway and he starts running like that. And Jimmy said, kid, pull up. I said, fuck off. And then I thought, if they get him, he'll do that. You know what I mean? He'll roll over in no time. If he's done that to us on the door, what's he going to do when the busies get him? So he gets in. And as we're driving away, pretty fast-ish, he's saying, Charlie, I'm sorry, I lost my bottle. I'm saying, all right, take it easy. Now, we had to get out of this car and abandon it, obviously, because the numbers saying, well, we knew that. We had another little motor out the way. Jimmy and Mickey Mac was getting in that with the money and driving safely away. I was going to go the other way, get a bus, like I always believed in that. Me and him, the wee fella, his name was Wee Mills. And so they went their way. We're waiting for this bus to come, and he's begging me, oh, Charlie, I'm sorry. I'm saying, all right, lad, don't worry about it. You'll be all right. Gets on the bus. We gets out of the city, like the town, and gets home safely. It was a fucking nightmare. It was a terrible disaster what happened. Through that one man. We didn't know he was behind the door inside an office. What started all, and he was brave. He put his arm right down my neck, and screaming, and the birds pressed the bell then. They were all standing there, and they all got brave. And it was through that Millsy that we still could have got that fucking dough. But it was all parcelled up ready. Mickey had to abandon it because all the alarms were going off and everything. So when we finally gets on the bus, me and him saying, Charlie, I said, you fucking little prick, I said, you nearly got us all done, you. I give you a chance to earn a few quid with us. You can fuck off. I said, you're too dangerous. I said, you know what I mean? And I remember him a few years later, trying to be one of the lads with a gang, looking at things and all that, I go to work now, mean and graft. I'm a grafter now with my own firm and all that like that. And a few years later, he come on badly unstuck and opened his mouth, and somebody else got done terrible for him. These people done something like myself. And Mills's mate was selling a diamond ring to one of them. And he paid them out with the money from the bank what they robbed. They knew this. This is ridiculous, the way these people work. And he gets a pull the kid who's never been in trouble in his life. His name was Harrison. I'm not saying his first name. Gets in, he sold a ring to this other guy. This other guy had the ring, the robber, the bank robber, bought the ring off this fella. But he gets caught and he goes and blows this other guy up. And he blows the other guy up. And do you know that man got 10 years? Only a young fella, 10 years. And he was from Iton as well, same kid, you know what I mean? But that's the way our life was going on. Other times, anything what was coming along, you'd weigh it up properly, make sure. You've got to make sure. I was perfect at it, you know what I mean? But some of them are terrible. You come unstuck badly sometimes, you know what I mean? If there's a way out, you've got to grab it. And that's what was happening. Another one we done went off. I said some are terrible and some are perfect. Remember another one we done? Don't forget, you know, we're getting to the end of the late 60s now, just touching 70 now, 70s, 71. We've done another one. And this one went off. You couldn't ask for anything better. This was on an estate. Good information. A fella off the estate. I knew all, you know, I always relied on good information. He told us about this place. And there had loads of jewellery in it, diamonds and everything. And it was in an office inside the place, in a safe. And the staff were in the front, doing all, whatever they do, you know, and all that. It wasn't on display, all this jewellery. It was always in the state, and when an order come out, or an order come in, you know what I mean? That's the way it was. But we knew exactly that jewellery was in a safe, and we knew the fella had the key to that safe. So it was a matter of going in there, sitting them down, going in, switching it and out. So how we done it? You'd had to drive up to this place. It had like no one of them fellas in a box watching you. Let the cars in and all that. Well, we knew that. But we'd all suited up and we had a top car looking apart, you know, nice and clean. 4 of us drive up there. Walked into the office, all dressed up, suits on and everything, looked good, you know, briefcase, all that, walked in. The door, they were in, as the door opened, we had to come out with the other lads. So I always believed in being the one with the gun. I made sure that if I had it, I knew what I was doing with it. I didn't want anybody getting hurt if we can do everything right. So it does the same thing, pulls the gun out, and they all backed up against the wall, and we knew the manual, got him. You go in with one of our other mates, went into this other office with them to collect the gear. I'm looking around, the cameras had just started coming out then. But like, they were easy to dismantle. So this other mate was again, went round and started pulling the cameras out the way. So I'm standing like that. So the staff, there was a woman there and about 2 or 3 men standing against the wall. And I'm like that, you know, this is the way you've got to do it. Don't forget, as you're doing a thing like this, your nerves are going. You don't know if they're going to come in on you. You could get shot, you're holding the gun. You know, anything could happen. It has to be, like I said, fast and furious, in and out and away. So I'm holding the gun like that. And then this little young girl, she's about 18 or something, come out of this little kitchenway, carrying a tray with cups and saucers on it. It must have been ready for the tea, right? And she come in, and all you could hear as I'm holding that fucking gun, she's standing there, the kid, and the tray's rattling like fuck in silence. Imagine it. So as she's doing that, and this is going on there, made who I am, I said, hey love, just put that tray down on the table. I've got the gun, put the tray down on the table, sit down, it's all right, look. I'm as scared as you are. I'm as frightened as much as you are. Nothing will happen to you. And because I said that and showed a bit of empathy for the kid, which she wouldn't have got hurt. This fellow what was in charge of them on the board, the big fella, He got brave. Went to run at me and I said, this'll blow your fucking guts out, you prick. Don't try and be an hero. It's not your fucking money. What are you doing it for? And he relented and went back against the wall. Anyway, what happened then? When they come out with the gear, the manager as well, we put them back in there and locked them in there and said, we're leaving somebody behind here for 10 or 15 minutes. Don't try and get out and all that. But we all walked out. Dead clean and everything. Perfectly, right past the guy on the, what did you call them things? With the pole comes up the entrance and, you know, to let you out. In the yard where, you know, drove away perfect. Oh, and we got a good touch on that, you know what I mean? So this is what we were doing all the way through our lives. What was happening like in the 1969, 1970. Going back a long time here, aren't I? This is what we were doing. We were doing things like that and it was going perfect. Money was flowing in. Everything was going great. And then when the 70s come, really took off then. We were into everything, making a fortune. We started going on lovely holidays, cruises and everything. We had everything in our hands, lovely homes. Well, sorry, I didn't have a house then or nothing. I still lived with my mum. But my mates were starting to buy houses for themselves and all that. And I thought, I better get myself a house here or something. I said, I can't live with my ma forever. Every time I get a bed, I've got to go and get a flat or let go to an hotel with it. Because my ma wouldn't let you in the house with a bed. So I started looking for a home, you know, what would do me like. And I get a phone call from a mate of mine from Wales. This is called the Welsh Connection now, Liverpool Welsh Connection. He said, there's a beautiful cottage over here, he said. It's lovely, it's going up, it's on offer. He said, I know the fella who's got it. I said, I'll have it. I said, I haven't even seen it. I went over. First time I'd been to Wales. The only time I went was years ago, in 1957, when I got arrested by the police. I was only in and out of the place. But this is the first time I went to Wales. And it was lovely. So this cottage, am I all right talking about this?
Yes.
This cottage was absolutely perfect. It was on the side of a hill, mountain. And honest to God, it had a big piece of land going down where a pigsty was in the corner. No pigs there, down at the bottom. And lovely trees and bushes. I thought, this'll do me, you know, because I always wanted to live in the country. So I done the deal with it, dead easy. Do you know what how much I got that cottage for?
What year?
1971. How much do you think?
Oh, I'm going to guess in just the low thousands.
80 grand.
80 grand.
Cash in his hand.
Wow.
60 in his hand and he signed for 20.
Yeah.
80,000 quid. Honest to God. My daughter was born there when I'll come into this in a minute. So this cottage was perfect. It had a big, double oven in it with brass thingies on, you know, the old-fashioned log fire. The ceilings were low with the proper beams in it. You know, the front door was like a stable door. You don't want. Oh, it was unbelievable. It had a long pathway comes with. I thought, this'll do me. I'm out the way from the other place, still carry on my graft. Nobody will know about this here in Wales. Little did I know that a few years from then, starting from then, Wales got battered by me. The money we made in Wales, antiques were big business then. Oh, big bonus. Everybody wanted antiques. Even in the council, I was like an antique. Everybody wanted antiques. 1970, 71. Everybody. Look, you know, and the antique dealers in Liverpool, Swainbanks, they were my mates. They were my main people who were selling to. And they were shipping them to the States. The Yanks were after English antiques. I battered Wales with the antique business. We're getting so many antiques, shipped them over and all that. But anyway, getting back to the cottage again. Everything, I was settling down just before I get into all that big stuff. Everything was going great. Over to Liverpool, you know, and away for a couple of days and coming back. And I was going with a girl then called Joan. Nice young lady, you know what I mean? And she was living, obviously, with her parents over in Liverpool, but you know the way they go, some of them, like, they want to be with you forever while you're trying to earn a few quid, you know what I mean? So the next minute, we started having a relationship. I've got to talk like this because it comes out into my story. And she decided to leave home, leave her parents. I mean, don't forget, she was only 18. And so come to live with me, and I'm going, well, I can put up with that. You know what I mean? You know, and took her down, she's made it with dead clean woman, didn't know it. But she got pregnant, and my bottle went. I thought, no, I can't have this. I was scared. I'm scared of her. Doing the bank was all right, but this has frightened me more than anything. So anyway, besides all that, time was going on a bit and all that, you know. And one day I'm sitting in the nice chair and everything, fire on and all that lot. And the car pulls up. It had a long drive, like pathway, right down to the main road. It sloped right down this, you know, off a mountain. And you could see the sea there. I think it was the River Dee, they call it. The sea there. You'd see mountains out of another window. It was designed. The way they designed things in them days, the walls were like that. Proper stone walls, proper oak beams, you know. And it was warm. It was cool in the winter. They were made like that. It was cool in the winter and hot in the, cool in the summer and hot in the winter when the fire's out. Because the beams were like that, and they'd be hot. And the bedroom was upstairs, so the heat would rise to that. So this car pulls up. And the next minute, car door opens, and this old guy come out on sticks, and they're helping up the path. I'm thinking, who the fuck's this, you know? I don't know what it is. You know, there's not something going on here. Maybe they want to help or something. The car's broke down. So when they come to the door, he said, I said, yes, can I help you? And this young fellow said, this is my granddad. And he was actually born in this cottage. I said, was you? He said, yes, son of ours. I said, come in, because I like to hear these old people talk. Maybe people are looking at this and saying, I'm an old fella talking. But anyway, he come in, and he told me the full history of it. He said, have you seen that hook in one of the bedroom walls hanging up? I said, yeah. He said, that's where we used to hang the pig up, because they had a pig for Christmas, you know, to share out amongst the village. And he said, he's telling me everything about it, why they made the walls like that. They had like any bits of glass and stone, and they make like a wall, what's it called that, to present the coal coming in. So he told me all the stories about it. And it had a big beam going right across the main beam, big thing, and other little beams coming up it. And I said, this is fantastic, who built this? He said, my grandfather built this. It was years old, this. And he was an old fella. And I liked listening to all that. And you know what the beam was? A ship's mast. Because the sailing ships used to come in and demast. And the people that were building the cottage would wait till they take the mast down. And they'd have the mast for the main. Good though, isn't it, when you think of it?
Yeah.
So anyway, I started planning it out then. Wow, this, you know, I've got that pigsty. I'm going to make that into a summer house. Going to have a lawn right down there. I'm very ambitious. I'm made up, you know. And there was a fella in a little cottage facing me across the road. And his wife, they always looking, you know. These are Welsh people, you know, and they're very inquisitive. Strangers coming in. So he's looking at me. So I've got these people to come in and cut all these bushes and trees down because I wanted a lawn. And you could see the thing. I had all ideas for it. And he's out with his pipe looking at me, going back in him. Didn't even introduce himself, you know. Next minute, when it was all done, he came over. He said, I'm Mr. Jones and Mrs. I said, oh, yeah, pleased to meet you. He said, well, I've come over to tell you, he said, you've just destroyed the best orchard in the village. They were all beautiful trees then. I said, what, you see me there? Why didn't you stop me? He said, well, we didn't like it. I said, well, all lovely trees, of apple trees, pear trees and everything. He watched me mow them down. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's just another story. But as far as the antiques go, I got in with a fella called Frank Hughes. He's dead now. He was the main negotiator between me and him and America. And I was with the Liverpool firm, Swain Banks. You can check this up. They were the big antiques dealers. They know me well. We became very good friends, you know what I mean? And they're dead now. I think one of them still alive. So the antique business, he came up to me, hello, Charlie, pleased to meet you and all that. Like, all right. I said, what's the score on this antiques thing? He said, big business, can't get enough of it. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I know your game. He said, what you know? He said, but why don't you ever go at the antiques? I said, well, I didn't know nothing about it. He said, well, they're like gold. You get the right gear, it's like gold. I said, well, enlighten me a bit more. He started coming for a meal and all that. Showed me the rounds and all that. He said, we've got one thing, what could be had off, he said. He said, have you game for it? I said, anything to make a few quid. Let's grab any opportunity. While I'm over there as well. He said, well, it's this like big warehouse thing, and it's full of grandfather clocks. He said, and they're all lined up against the wall, ready to go to the States. They're worth a lot of money. You get a nice few bob for this, if you got them. Grandfather clocks were sought after, you know, everywhere. Especially the Georgian ones, with the slim thing, you know, they were the slim ones with the works in and everything inside. And I'd never been interested in them. I mean, the only grandfather I clock was when I robbed that farmer's house years ago, when the thingy was on the grandfather clock and the wall clock come out. You know, that was the only grandfather clock I'd ever seen in my life. But now they do a big business, plus other antiques. So he shows me the place and all that, dead easy. You know, like in a remote place. Padlock on the door, no alarms, nothing. But you needed a big van, you know, to take them. So I had Jimmy again, great brother, he was on the bank with me. Still dead game with me, our kid. He's dead now, sadly. He said, oh, kid, yeah, I'll have a go at that with you. So me and him and another mate come with us. And we went down to weigh this place up. I said, we'll have it tomorrow. All right, I think it was a Monday or something like that. So I've never handled a grandfather clock in my life. And didn't know, none of us did. But there was a rope in front of them all. I said, right, we'll start with them. I mean, it was like a furniture van, so the clocks were going to go inside now. Do you know the first clock I had Jimmy pull it up? I said, Jimmy, get that, start it now. He grabbed it around his arms like that. And as he pulled it away, the fucking head fell off and nearly killed him. You know, the brass face nearly knocked him out. That's what it was like. I thought it was funny though, you know what I mean? So we eventually got the clocks in. They were all like coffins in the van. And we're driving out of Wales. Everything's good, but we've got to go into Liverpool, to the Swain Banks. They know what's going on because they're ready to take them. So as we're driving along, I always had a little sports car as the light lookout and all that. And I had this little red MGB. Lovely little thing with spoke wheels. And I'm trailing behind them. And we're coming down, nearly coming out of Wales. You know, it was all coast roads then. And we get to a place called, going past a place called Prestatyn, is it? On the mate. There was no A55 then, no motorways. It's all coast roads. And I'm like that, everything's going all right, because busies keep their eye open, you know. And as I'm driving down, it's about 9 o'clock at night. So the van's in front, and I said, you know the score, kid, you know, what I used to do, if they were going to get a pull from the busies, I'd start make them pull me instead. So I used to have a bottle of ale on the passenger seat, just in case. They knew what I was up to, and I knew what they were up to. So as we're just driving past Prestatyn on the main road, seeing the head of a police car, blue and white, you know, I think it was a Morris Minor, one of them, you know, what they had. So I get tried onto and I thought, You get that feeling they're going to pull that van at this time of night. It was a bit, we should have left it for in the morning, but we wanted to get through. So as they're driving like that, I'm driving behind, I get them in the mirror, the coppers behind me. I knew they were going to pull the van up. So as they were getting near to me, I started swerving up and down the road like that, and they were beeping their horn, and I had the bottle in my hand that I was drunk, and I went, oh God. So they concentrated on me and forgot that, you know what I mean? So they started chasing me, and I went back the way I was come, so that they'd get away. And as I drove away, I ended up in have you heard a place called Rill? Never been to it in my life. Ended up in Rill. What was that? And they were after me, but they couldn't catch me. Down a side street in this place called Rill, little street. They've gone past, finished anyway. And I knew our kid and all them were safe now. They must have been well away. So I'm in a place called Rill, and the busies are after me. They don't know who I am. They couldn't see the car because I put her up a side street. So I thought, fuck, I've got to get me head down here. You know what I mean? In case they see me and all that. So I'm on the main street and I seen a light with calf on it. This is 9 o'clock in the night, this. Calf on it. I thought, oh, thank God for that. I'll get in there, have a cup of tea or coffee, whatever it is. And when the heat's died down, I'll make my way home, like that. So I go to the cafe and it's shut. But lit up. But there's a girl cleaning up in there, inside it. And them days, the girls had mini skirts on and big boots, long hair down to their arses, They looked the part. And I was very, very old then, a young man, you know what I mean? And I seen and I knocked, and I had a way, I always had that way with women, could persuade them, So I knocked on the door, the glass door, and she went, we're closed. I went, hey, just let her in, 2 minutes. She went, oh, okay. Because I looked the part, you know what I mean, thing. So she come in, open the door for me. Wouldn't believe this could happen. So as she opened the door to me, I went, I fucking wait for the police now, She said, it can't be too long, I said, okay. Just get her a hot drink, love, cocoa or whatever you got. So then she sits in front of me on the table and starts talking to me. We start talking, young people, that way they do. And she told me she lived in St. Asaph. And it was so miserable that there's no light life there. It wasn't like that in Wales the way it is in Liverpool. And because I was a Scouser, she was made up to it. Because all Scousers talk, don't they? Look at me. I can't keep my mouth shut. So the next minute, we're talking away. Within 20 minutes, she packed that job in. Now, by now it's about 11 o'clock, half 11. She packed the job in. I know that's all safe now. And she got in my car with me and we drove to God knows where. Fuck know where we were going. Just copped it in and thought, look for an hotel and try and get in, or where do you live? Said, I don't want to go back home and all that. And God blimey, you wouldn't think this. So we're driving like anything and we come to another fucking village in Wales. I don't know where I am here, by the way. There was no things on your car where it tells you where to go. But she had a little idea, I said, listen, now that we're here, I said, I want to go to Chester. I laughed at that. So we're driving like anything. We come to this place called, come to me again, I can't remember that. Anyway, I'll come out with it again if you can just bear with me. And we come to this little village. And now it's about 11:30 at night. What happens to my car? No petrol, ran out of it. And give a guess where I ran out of the petrol? About 10 yards from the fucking police station. With the ball on it. And there I am. And I went, what the fuck? Sorry, I've made a mistake here saying this. This was later on. We gets around, we gets a, what's the place called? We gets a bed and breakfast at the night. You'll have to take that out, that part. Well, they get me on the saying that.
Yeah, you're fine. Keep
Leave
going.
that on when they're saying that.
Keep going.
So what happened then? we got a bed and breakfast, gets up early in the morning, said, well, I'll get shut of it now, buy a little dress or something. You know, I wasn't a user of women, you know what I mean? And he always loved my company. So that morning when we got up from the bed and breakfast, the car had a bit of juice in it then. This is nothing. We goes out into the little village in the main street. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, fucking hell, this place. Look at it, it's got everything. No, not an alarm on a shop or anything on the front window. This is virgin territory. It's never been done anywhere, thing like this over here. And as I'm walking down, comes across a lovely jewellers with just the windows on it. And it comes to about the bottom of it comes to about your waist, you know. And there's lovely gold in the windows and everything. And I went, fucking hell, this is not easy, this. It's a doddle, you know. So I'm looking through and she's with me. She said, oh, aren't they nice? I said, yeah, they are beautiful, aren't they? It had like arms, velvet arms with gold bracelet. And gold was big money then, you know. It goes up and down gold, doesn't it? And I seen all this now and fucking hell, how could they have that? You know what I mean? Give a guess what I've done. She's talking, she said, isn't it beautiful? I said, yeah. I said, listen, I'll tell you what I want to do. I took her in and bought her a dress in one of the shops. I said, now, they had what you called chandlers then. No supermarkets really then. Chandlers and tool shops and all that. I said, I want you to go into that shop. And when you go in there, get a glass cutter. Everybody used them, glass cutters. Then I got a bit of sandpaper, a bit of things what you put on the top of the table. What did you call them things? That plastic stuff, what sticks. Got what I rolled it out. Got the glass cutter and a little small lump hammer. And I told her to buy a big bag. So she knew what I was going to do. I said, I'm going to have that tonight. She said, well, now she's only been with me a few hours. Think of it. Fucking hell. So I'm going to do a fucking robbery here with a girl I don't know. And it's tempting me with the jewellery. So that night we went out, went back to the thing. You got it all up. I said, now look, we're going to go down here now. You just stand at the side of me with your bag. And it was about 10:30 of the night. People in them days, they all went to bed early, didn't they? Yes, the jewellery fucking not covered up or nothing. So it goes down as a young couple, by the way, they're looking at the thing. There was no like cameras on you or nothing. So I got the glass cutter out and I cut the corner of the window like that. Cutting it. And then I put the plastic over there. And I got the little lump hammer and went, fuck off. And it went in and just pulled her away and she's standing there with the bag. And I could only get what I could with my arm and I was getting as much as I could and putting it in the bag like that. I couldn't get any more. I wished I could have done, but I got a nice few quid like that. So puts her in the bag. And we walks away and we get to my car. I said, look, this is going to be on top. This is going to be like wildfire, this place. Not like this has ever been done here. What's the name of it? I'm coming to the place again. So she's excited. I said, we'll be all right, don't worry. I said, she said, oh no, it's all right. She was fucking excited, never seen anything like it. So we get to my car. I said, we'll have to fuck off. Let's get to a place called Chester, because I had friends over there who knew about jewellery and all that. But now it's late at night, fucking 11 o'clock or something like that. So we're driving to this place and we come to this little village, forget the name of that. As we comes into it, I fucking runs out of petrol, conks out. And it conked out practically outside the police station. I went, fuck it now. And she's sitting on all the gold what's underneath their seat. Oh, fucking hell, what am I going to do here? But I'm one of them fellas, I'm just born with luck. Always have. I said, now listen, what we're going to do, I'm going to go into this police station and explain that my car's broken down, because nobody had sparks. Anybody would have had a sports car then. They were classed as upper crust, all that. And she looked at that, you know what I mean? And I was going to make out I was a student on my way home from the university, because he had all the gear on. And walks into I said, just leave this open to me. And there's a policeman behind a desk. One of them big red-faced policemen, Welsh policemen. He said, yes, can I help you? I said, yes, officer. I said, I'm in a predicament here. I said, I've just been to university, I said, and I've got to get home to my parents and my girlfriend. I said, and my car's outside. Oh, you got a car? You know, because nobody had cars. I said, yeah, it's outside, officer. I said, and I ran out of petrol. I was wondering if you've got any. He said, well, they had a thingy in the yard where the police car filled it up every so often. So he said, yeah, we'll get one in there. He said, our officer's not in yet, but he won't be in for about 20 minutes or so. I said, well, there's only him and me. I don't want the other busies to see me. So I said, all right. I said, so trying to get it in. He said, mind out. And he started pushing me into the fucking police compound with me staring at the wheel and the gold in there. And we gets in there, cut a long story, gets the juice in it. Thanked him very much. He said, no, that's okay, son. Be okay now. Be careful. I said, thank you. He drives away with a fucking load of gold and that. And we booked into a thing when we got into Chester. Oh, is it called? The Grosvenor Hotel. Big, beautiful place. They have commission on the door with all the brass on in them days. Hey, sir, yes, can we take your car? Take your car off, you don't park it. She's made up with this one. She said, can I put my dress on? I said, yeah, get dressed. So we had a lovely time over there. Her name was Delma, and she lived in St. Asaph. And you know what? Her and her sister, it comes to another story, this. Her and her sister were so loyal to me. They saved me from prison on many occasions and helped me. You know what I mean? But anyway, this night, we goes in there the next day. I phoned up our kid. Everything's custy, kid, you know. Got it all sorted. All right. I said, look, I'll be away for a couple of days, you know, because you trust one another. He said, yeah, okay, well, we're waiting for you to come back with the prices, you know, what you want and all that. I said, okay. So I'm with this bed, aren't I, for a bit of time, like. And I had to take it back home to St. Asaph. But I give her a bit of jewellery and all that. But then I could say there was potential in this Wales. You know, the money to be made. As I said, virgin territory, never been fucking hit. You know what I mean? So that was me starting off in Wales. And what I done then, I kept in touch with her. She lived in a lovely house with her sister and her parents. You know what I mean? In a little place called St. Asaph, like I've just told her. Lovely little place. So I thought, well, that's my little stay over there. Or you know, when they want anything doing a bit, come unstuck, they'll look after me. And it started from then. And this Frank Juice was coming in with the graft he was coming in with. We were knocking everything off. But the main one, what he gave me, talk about bad luck, really. He came with this jeweller from Manchester, top man from Manchester, into my cottage. And he pulled up in a Rolls Royce. You had a roller then, you've got money. You know, he looked the part, he knew. And he said, I want to introduce you to this friend of mine. Frank said, you know. I said, yeah, please, let me come in. You know, Joe was in there. I said, put the kettle on for him or something. Frank said, he's got a good job on for you here. He's a jeweller. He's got his own place in Manchester, blah, blah. The fella introduced himself to me. Nice fella. I said, what is it like? What's the graft? He said, it's just up your street, this. He said, this is a big one, very big. There's a hell of a lot of money involved in this. He said, I know the way you graft, Charlie. It can be pulled off perfect. I said, all right, yeah, I'm game for it. But obviously I've got to weigh it all up first and see what it's all about. So what happened? They told me, and they took me to this big, like, mansion out the way. And what it was, the Russian Revolution in 1917 was overthrown, one of the revolutions to overthrow the kingdom. But the Russians what got out then, they weren't communists then, they were very rich people. There was a family what moved from Russia, think of that, in the 1918s. I mean, I wasn't fucking even thought of then. And they moved all the goods and the readies and the jewellery and everything they had into this little bit of a mansion what they bought in them days. And they were just treated as respectable people, obviously. They had loads of dough. I said, there. So we went there. He said, oh, no, you're going to come inside the mansion with us. I said, I don't want to be seen by anybody. I'm going to go in there. He said, no, this is dead easy. I said, what is it? He said, there's one woman in there. She's the last one in the family. She's in there. And she buys antiques. So all the antique dealers come to her and buy antiques. And she's still earning dough and she's worth fucking millions. So I said, yeah, what? He rings the bell, knocked on the door. And she comes to the door. She looked like Scruffy with a loud, shabby thingy on her. And she comes to the door. And the jeweler said, well, Frank's thingy. He said, blah, 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 blah. No problem, she let you in. And the jeweler said to me, just clock that brooch what she's got on. That's worth about 10 fucking grand on the chest. No, just like a pin in something, holding a pin up. I said, well, anyway, amazing, this place. He went in, he just showed me all the rooms were there. And every room, one of them big doors, she had one of them big long keys. She'd open one. So we had a look at all the art. Well, I know a lot about art, you know, Gainsborough and all that, like, right into art. Going on and all that. Showing us all the paintings, lovely. Then another one where she's showing all the furniture and all that. Then he took us into this other one with silver and everything else in there. And with the thing, just at ease. She's at ease. And there was a little cabinet about that high. Little slim cabinet with a glass doors on it, but there was a blanket over them inside. And as you're looking around, there was a safe, a little safe. I thought, fucking hell, I can carry that away if that's what he wants. You know what I mean? So I'm looking at it, and the fella says to me, do you take no notice of the safe? I said, but fucking hell, you know, that's easy, that. He said, no. I thought I was going to break into it, but it turned out completely different the way he wanted to do, and it was good, like. He said, what you've got to do, go to the auction. We're going to get an auction, get one of them estate cars they were called years ago, with a roof rack on it. Put a bit of an old chair on, a couple of old chairs, and you drive up, you look the part, an antique fella, you know what I mean? Drive up, knock on the door. I could tell you the name, but I'm not. She's dead, well dead now, but this was big. You knock on the door and she opens it. Well, I remember what she looks like then and all that. And she see me, you know what I mean? I'm not worried about MASH because this is going to be, how's anybody going to identify you from another part of the fucking country, and it's all over with in no time. So that was what the plan was. And the jeweler said to me, oh, this is true, this, you know. He said, see that cabinet in there, Charlie? I said, yeah. He said, just get me that. I don't want nothing else. I know there's thousands there. Get me that. He said, and I'll give you £1 million fucking quid and that Rolls Royce. I said, what? Couldn't believe it. And every villain, you know, was waiting for the big time to come. I thought, this is my day. Fucking hell, you know. I said, no, don't fuck me about, mate. He said, no, honest to God. Just get me that. Don't take it. Just get me that. I don't know which way you're going to do it. Yeah, that's your job. Just get me that. That roll is there for you, and I'll give you £1 million quid. I'll give it to Frank to give to you. And it was all cashed in days, you know, no fucking checks. So I phones my brother up, Archie me. Gets my other mate over. 3 of us are going to have this. So we goes down to the auction place and buys like a van thing, you know. Throws a couple of chairs out of a shop. Throws them on it. Bit of blankets over and all. Looking good, like. And we're going to have it on the Monday morning. This was over the weekend we done all this. Can't wait for it Monday morning. The other fellow who was with me, he's alive now, called Derek Hunter. He's still alive now. Never done a jail sentence in his life. A fellow what's been a villain all his life, made good lad, brought a nice family up. He's just about alive, I think. You know what I mean? He's nearly enough my age. And we're excited. And we're, in my cottage, oh God, like, this is going to be brilliant, this. All kipping in my cottage, waiting for Monday morning to come. Sunday night, Frank turns up with the jeweler. knocks on my door. Oh no, that was later. Well, yeah. He comes on the Sunday night before we were going on the Monday morning. He knew we were going to go on a Monday morning. He comes Sunday with the jeweller, big long face on him. So come in, he said, Charlie, what the fuck have you done? I said, what do you mean? He said, why did you fucking do it? I said, what do you mean? Somebody's broken into the fucking place. I said, what do you mean? They said, they got the safe and he broke windows or something and took the safe away. And she's on the alert, she's being told now to watch everything she's got. It was fucked, the job. Especially with my name, if they got me to business. I said, I haven't, and they was convinced I fucking done it. I said, you can fuck off, I haven't done it. I'm not like that. The jeweller put his head down and wouldn't speak to me. I said, can't you understand, there's the gear ready to go, showed them. Thought I had it. Thought I'd done one on them. It was the sorriest thing he'd done, Frank, because I'd seen him a few weeks later and I put it to him. What had happened, in Liverpool, you had what you call sneak thieves, burglars and sneak thieves. And on the Sunday or the Saturday, they'd come over, and what they used to do, these only petty thieves. They'd look through a window, and if there's an ornament on it, what's an antique or a jug or a silver thing, because they were all that. Wales were getting battered for antiques, you know what I mean? Even the petty robbers were going there to sit back to Liverpool. And he looked in and seen the fucking safe, they got this jar off the thingy, broke the window, and one of them seen the fucking safe. So they both jumped in. Oh, sorry, is that okay?
Yeah, you're fine.
And got the fucking safe. And that's what happened. And what happened then? The two fucking fellas. I'll tell you what one of the fellas' name was. John Lally. I wonder if he's still alive. He was a good fella, like, but he was only like younger than me years ago. They got all this fucking jewellery and whatever was in it. Know what was in that? Not in the safe. There was all gold in the safe. Loads of fucking gold and diamonds and all that. So they took it home to Liverpool, and because there was that much of it, they got it out the safe. Do you know this Lime Street station where they have them boxes where you can put things in a box and keep the key? The two of them put gear in there, and this kid took a ring out of it, and he took a bit like till he got it sorted. I mean, if they would have come to me with it, I wouldn't have minded, like, you know what I mean? So the next minute, I find out about this, the house being done. The two of them what done it, the young lad had only just been released from Borstal training. He was only 19. And he come unstuck. The police come to see him because he had this ring with the girl that he was with. And she gets brought in, and he's going to be engaged. And they want to know where he got the fucking ring from. So he said, well, if you let me get married and stay out for a couple of months, I'll tell you everything about the job. And he blew everything up. Everything. And the police went right over there, blocked this off and all that. And that's what happened. Like, fucking hell. So you win some, you lose some. You know what I mean? But imagine that happening.
So the thing that was worth $1 million, what was that?
He wouldn't tell me. I said, what was it? He said, he wouldn't even tell me. He said, why do you want that? He said, don't open it, don't it?
Just it was in the
safe.
safe.
I know what was in it now.
In the safe.
It'll be them fragisays and all that. You know what they are? Don't need to weigh fucking millions. Old Russian antiques and jewellery and gold and everything.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. If it was made up, what was he going to make himself? And that was one of the biggest jobs I'd lost out on.
So did those goods get found then because of those idiots?
What?
Did the goods get returned to the lady?
They got all the gold back off them two because they blew one another up.
Wow.
He blew Lally up and they took everything back. All through fucking silly ring, but he was put on his girl's finger to get engaged and gets fucking nicked to it. See, what do I always say to you? The aftermath. It's all right doing a job. It's afterwards. Fellas do murders, don't they?
And did the jeweller realise you had nothing to do with it when those guys got arrested?
What?
Did the jeweller realise you had nothing to do with it?
Oh, yeah, that's it. Right, that's another thing. I went round to thank and sorry, apologising, you know, and all that. And then we went into the fucking safe. The antiques in Wales were getting fucking hammered. We were doing all kinds. It was unbelievable the things what we were getting up to. But that's my story about Wales, really. But it went bigger and bigger and bigger in the end. Have a little blow for a minute.
Yeah, you're doing good. That was 50 minutes.
Oh, only need another 10 minutes.
5-0. Yeah, really good.
But that's a good story, isn't it?
Really good stories.
Was that exciting, like?
Yeah. I love the way you describe it. The Welsh girl and everything.
Yeah, well, I'm going to come into that now.
Yeah.
To end it with that. Just give me a blow for a minute.
Okay. I'll take a wee while you have a rest.
You can leave that on as we're just doing it. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, good.
You warm out there?
A bit chilly.
Are you warm?
No.
Camera's working okay and all that?
Yeah, good.
Is that okay? Don't forget, lads, I haven't got a script here or nothing. Yeah, that was the Welsh connection. And the girl down there had a sister called Cheryl. As I said, they live in St. Joseph's. And them two girls was all the work I was doing. I mean, they showed me the way how to hardware, or I'd front them up to do things for me. And they became lovely girls, you know what I mean? And I come unstuck on a job once over there, roped in. There was an island there, what was it called? There's some little island outside Wales. And we done the job. Everything was all right. Get in the boot of the car. And the police now know they're after me like anything. They're after, honest to God. You don't last long in them places because they talk a lot, you know what I mean? And when I was up on the mountain part where the cottage was, there was like the river down below and like a little side lane. Like you could hardly see the people that far away. And I'd had workers coming to do bits of work on my cottage. So I get to knock on the door. This fella comes up, this builder. I said, fucking hell. What does he want? I've done everything. He went, listen, he said, if you're up to no good, good fella, this fella. I said, yeah, what are you on about? He said, my friend's, his brother-in-law is a policeman. And see that van down there? I said, where down? He said, they've got cameras up on your cottage, waiting to see you coming in and out. I knew it was on top. They were onto me then. You know what I mean? Oh, I said, thanks a lot for that. He said, no problem, You're just a good fella. Look again, I could have been doing something I didn't know they were there. So anyway, these two girls, I've done this bit of a move. And I come unstuck on it, and I got arrested in the police station, the Welsh police station. But they got her as well because she was with me, not on the move. We were out somewhere having a drink or something. And they took her in. And they knew that she must know a lot about me. You know what I mean? This is how they work, So I said to her, look, they're going to split it. Oh, I said to her, before this happened, I said, if they ever get me, they'll try and come all kinds with you, the police. I'm a bad man. I've raped a woman or I've been no good and beat people up and all that. Don't fall for it. She said, I won't. I know you're. I said, well, this is what they do. This is what the way the police done, Give you a bad name so that the person will be scared of you and they'll crash you. So I drummed that into her all the time. Anyway, this day we got gone. Just suspicion, got me in. Some things were going off and he wanted me, questioned me. And he also put her in. And I said, if we ever get split up, which you usually do, they throw you in the cell and throw me in the cell. Don't tell them nothing. They can't force you to. There's no such a thing as no commence then, He didn't say that. You just got a bit of a cream to it. I said, what they'll do, they'll try every trick in the book with you. I say, and what you do now, because you've never been in trouble, you're an honest working girl, you come off honest parents. When it gets too heavy for you, I'll know then what's going on because I'm in the next cell. I said, just screaming hysterical. I want to go home to my mum and all that. And you know what? It worked. she was in there and I was thinking that I used to turn my back to the wall. You know them our beds, what they have. Charlie, I wouldn't even look around at them. And I heard the screaming going on. And the cops come in and said, come on, fuck off. And she said, did it work? I said, great girl. So she's going to see this podcast. Her and her sister became great people for me. And I come and stuck on another thing. And they were there for me in court and all that. They were good people. I could rely on really good people. I mean, I've had people doing all kinds of me. Being on a jury, they found me not guilty. There's all kinds happened to me, you know what I mean? But that's the way the connection was in Wales. But that's another story, innit? Now I'm carrying on for something else now. Do you want to ask me anything?
What I've noticed is, and it's a theme throughout your books, like when you said with Wee Wee, you got rid of him right away because you sensed how weak he was and unreliable.
Yeah.
You've got a really high discipline. So when it's almost like military precision when you're planning a robbery.
Yeah.
If anything goes wrong slightly, or if anyone shows weakness, you stop it right away because you know it's going to come on top.
Yeah. Well, you can stay safe to thieve another day.
And then Wee Wee goes off on his own and then he gets busted.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens. Is that going down?
Yeah.
What you've just said?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So we leave that there. We're going to go in. The next one I do now is going to go into the 70s.
Yep.
That was the golden age again for me. This is when I lived like a king. I had beautiful homes, swimming pools, a lot. And it's all true. I went right up in the sky. And you know what? I'd never done a jail sentence since 1966. I've been arrested on some terrible charges, but I've always walked. Keep that shut and plan it out properly. If they've got nothing on you, you're laughing.
Yeah, and it comes across in the book. So if people want to read the books, the audio books, all the links in the description box below this video. If you've missed Charlie's other podcasts, parts 1, 2, and 3, all the links are in the description box below this video. So please catch up on the whole series.
Are we all right to go?
Yeah, all good.
Are you happy with that?
Yeah, very happy. Love the detail, the old school stories.